I now call our meeting to order. We begin today by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Wollastock-Waite. These territories are covered by treaties of peace and friendship of the Wollastock-Waite people, first signed with the British Crown in 1725. Attendance has been taken. Approval of the agenda.
Second, Dave Morrison, Hamilton.
Any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Are there any conflict of interest for disclosure this evening? Approval of the minutes, February the 6th, 2024.
Move to approve the minutes of February 6th, 2024. Dave Morrison.
Any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Committee report, Public Safety Committee, Director Morrison, please.
Okay. Everybody have a copy of the report. In our last meeting, we just went over the dates for the upcoming forum meetings and public safety meetings. Any questions? Anybody have any questions about the report?
Don't pass the question. Go to the discussion.
Can I get a motion to approve the report? So moved by report second.
Any discussion? Yes.
Through you, Madam Chair, Director Morrison, I just noticed that the forum tomorrow evening is there's Microsoft Teams location on there, but it's also being held in your community of town.
Yes, it's at Hamilton Place between the hours of 6 and 8. Yeah, no problem.
Just for clarification, you put the motion on the floor. Who seconded the motion?
I'll second that.
I put
Marty.
motion on the floor, didn't
You seconded it. Director Morrison would have put the motion forward.
I second.
You seconded it. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is attendance for the forum meetings made public?
All of our meeting minutes would be public in terms of that, and so I can't see why it wouldn't be made public. Director Erickson. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further discussion? Ready for the question? In favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Director. Governor's Committee, Director Sweeney, please.
The Governance Committee met on February 8th. Myself, Rob Powell, Dave Morrison, Richard Corey, Judy Wilson-Shee, Kate Rogers, Don Fitzgerald, John Smith, Kelly Shaw. The meeting was called to order by the chair at 2 p.m. The committee began by continuing its work on the annual review of the Commission's bylaws by reviewing the Planning Review and Adjustment Committee bylaw. The staff suggested changes. They're attached. The changes received unanimous committee support. The bylaws will be brought forward for the board's consideration at the AGM in 2024. In addition to reviewing the Commission's bylaws, the committee is tasked with monitoring training and orientation practices and ensuring there is a procedure in place for evaluating the board on a regular basis. The committee had a robust discussion on previous methods used by the board for self-evaluation, and it is felt that the session of January the 26th with Pivot covered this. Valuable feedback was received from the committee members with respect to training topics. All members felt that a non-transactional time together as a board would be beneficial, and suggestions were given that included the history of the organization, the CRSC progress, and digging into the Regional Service District Act. Staff will endeavor to arrange a few pre-meeting workshops. There being no further business, the meeting was adjourned at 2:36. I move that the board receive the report of the Governance Committee dated March the 5th, 2024.
Second by,
Powell, Town of Ormonto.
any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Director Sweeney. Community Development Committee, Staff Member Don Fitzgerald, COO, on behalf of Robert Simpson, Vice Chair. He will give the report, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our most recent meeting started with review of regional transportation and in particular staff's efforts to begin a regional transportation study. It's our hope that in the next 60 to 90 days that we'll have a template to share with the committee and through the committee to the board. Also on the topic of transportation, the committee was advised that beginning April 1st of this year, all funding for volunteer drive services that come from the Economic and Social Inclusion Corporation would be administered by the capital RSC. So these funds have been previously administered by Greater Fredericton Social Inclusion. We are under the direction from ESIC that the communities have been apprised of this change, at least their transportation groups. We then heard from Carrie Bedford, who's the resiliency coordinator for Justice and Public Safety's resiliency branch, with respect to their activities. Every year, Justice and Public Safety through the resiliency branch has $50,000 that they grant or assist community groups to do projects that meet their issues of emergency preparedness and mitigation. And also attached to that report was a copy of the strategic objectives for 2024. Committee was also updated with respect to the consultation that's going to be happening in this month and next month with respect to developing the fourth iteration of overcoming poverty, which is ESIC's poverty reduction strategy. Community consultations will be paid for by ESIC where they can be arranged. Currently, we have worked with communities and there will be consultations in Hanwell, Fredericton, Nakawick, Melville, and we are speaking with the folks in Arcadia with respect to having an event there. And finally, we talked about the Community Inclusion Network plans for 2024, and a copy of that plan is attached to this report. And the item that was brought up in the general discussion by the committee had to do with the concept of guaranteed basic income. And staff are in the process of preparing a report for the committee for March's meeting with respect to guaranteed basic income. And my sense is that out of that likely will come recommendations to the board to endorse that concept, which is getting support nationally from a wide array of organizations and local and provincial governments. So that's a report, Madam Chair. If the members, if the directors have any questions, I'd be happy to respond to them.
Could I get someone to read the motion first and then second it? Then we'll go into discussion.
Sure. Greg Bergson, City of Fredericton. I move that the board receive the report of the Community Development Committee dated March 5th, 2024.
Second by,
Second.
any discussion? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm curious, now that Capital Regional Service Commission is going to be responsible for funding for the volunteer drive services, who is responsible for ensuring that these services are accessible?
So the ultimately the participating agencies will be under oversight from us. There are two types of, there's accessible transportation and then there's general transportation. So we're working towards making sure that both of those are adequately addressed in those areas where we provide funding.
Any further discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Don. Economic Expansion Committee Director, Nicholas, please.
Okay, we started off our meeting, creating the schedule for 2024 that was circulated and discussed. It was decided that the meeting would be held on the third Monday of each month at 4 p.m. Then we moved on to discussing potential scorecards for Ignite and Frederick Capital Region Tourism. They advised us that the statistics would be available towards the end of the fiscal year, March 24. And so staff of Ignite and Frederick Capital Region Tourism will speak to the committee in April, and then they'll have data to report on. This should move forward the development of the metrics so we can use on a scorecard. Member survey was then discussed, means to identify economic goals across our regions, concentrate on areas of focus. Staff will develop and has developed a survey and bring it to the committees for discussion, and the committee will bring it to the board. The survey will be distributed. Directors will be asked to seek input from their councils. And then based on that information, build out the surveys to submit back to the committee. This will allow the committee to select the common areas of focus and act in the best interest of the whole region. We talked about using CRSC to seek support for greater funding for from GNB for the RCS. Like many communities, my own community, when I speak to the ministers or the government about our community and the losing of the funds and where they actually go, I want to be sure that our funds that they remove from us come back to support our communities. And I'm not so sure they are. I want to make sure that we have a better ability to seek 100% funded money, not 50-cent dollars where we're taking 100% dollars away and returning 50-cent dollars, and then we're making up more again. So I would like to well, there'll be a motion later on that. So what I think we should be asking for, and we can go from there. There's the discussions around bringing the Ignite board to give updates quarterly and biannually. The question was raised: what the members on the Ignite board are supposed to do with the information they gather. The Economic Expansion Committee oversees the activities for Ignite and FCRT, so it would be appropriate for the committee to receive these updates. The updates would increase the input of information from the members and contribute to their ability to make informed decisions. It was agreed staff will invite the members to speak to the Economic Expansion Committee, and the information shared will become part of the committee's report to the board. The committee discussed work plans for 2024, and by the end of February, committee members sent a list of areas of focus they should feel would be targeted in 2024. CEO Smith shared there are options to request different government agencies, groups, and other committees to present opportunities of information if requested. I had a meeting for my community with Mr. Green on funding of for-profit housing, not-for-profit housing, and that's a little bit of a tongue twister, but there is a lot of options there for our communities, and you know, it should be brought available to our regional services, and not you really shouldn't have to go seek it out from them. So that was one of the I just thought that we as a committee could bring forward. Other areas of focus were bringing employers to discuss underdeveloped areas and working towards reducing barriers to develop multi-unit dwellings. Discussions on how to tackle these issues were ensued, and acknowledge that housing and employment are moving parts of a large machine that can be difficult to act on. So we concluded our meeting at 4:45 p.m. and I would like to move that the Capital Region Commission receive the report of the Economic Expansion Committee.
Second by,
Ready, Forsyth.
any discussion? No discussion, ready for the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
I have a second motion.
Yes.
That the Capital Regional Service Commission directs staff to request greater access to the 100% funding in light of the reduction of the unconditional grants to the municipalities.
Second by,
Powell or Mato.
any discussion?
Question here from, Director Morrison. The 100% funding for what in particular? It says your motion says 100% funding. I'm not sure what you're looking to have 100% funded.
So,
Yes.
okay, so, when they reduce your
Unconditional.
unconditional grant, and they fund back to CRSC, you take 50% dollars, or they'll get $50 off of that.
Yes.
Sure. Through you, Madam Chair, to the Director. That's through the Regional Services Support Fund. And that's that 50-50 cost share that we do for our investment, and then the province matches that investment into the mandated services areas.
Was that tied in with the unconditional grants?
Well, my feeling is that, that unconditional grant is being taken away in some areas. It's pretty substantial. In my area, it is very substantial. And when I look at the money that we see on our financial statements that is given back, it should be coming back dollar per dollar. If they're taking that money from me for a service that they rendered and felt that I needed, and now it's being brought forward by CRSC, that fund should go back into here to fund all of our services at 100%.
Okay, the unconditional grant is a formula that the province uses to come up with the unconditional grant for each and every one of the municipalities. I don't know if there's a relationship there between their grant formula and what you're asking for in the support funds.
Well, we could, well, I don't know what you do.
Yes.
Madam Chair, and through you, and Director Nicklin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the intent was, Director Morrison, that we would request a greater share of that funding that comes in. So last year, we were eligible for, I believe it was 1.5 million, Mary Kay, and then right before the budget process ended, there was an additional amount of money taking us up to 1.9. And instead of having that as a full 50-50 cost share, could a portion of that be at 100% dollars, or is there another way to access further grants, further grant money? In 2022, in order to bring in the budget, there was a grant that was given to the RSCs in order to facilitate with the transition for the 2023 year, and it was 100% grant funding. And then for 2024, it was changed to a 50-50 grant funding. And I'm just checking over at the boss over there to make sure she's good with my answers, and she nodded. So
Still the one that maintained 50% funding for 10 years.
It's the one that they're maintaining 50% funding, and it's hard to say, Director Morrison, how long that's for. We've asked for a commitment on that for it to be ongoing. It is in the legislation, it is in regulation, there's no end date in it. And all of the correspondence that came from the province on the RSSF has no end date. It just says 2024 and ongoing. So, but the idea was, I believe, and Director Nicklin, correct me if I'm wrong, is try to capitalize on that. Maybe a portion of that could even be 100% dollars, and then 50-50 funding after that, or something. A greater contribution
I
towards
see what you're after.
establishment of the
I see the
RSCs.
link between the additional grant, because there's there's two different pools we're talking about there.
Yeah.
So you would, like you're saying, they're taking away with one hand, you'd like to get more from the other hand,
Yeah,
basically.
that would be the same.
Yeah, okay, understood.
Okay, any further discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Director Nicklin. The Finance Committee, Director Corey, please.
Finance Committee met on February 21st, 2024. Meeting was called to order at 1 p.m. Mr. McCray reviewed the attached staff report on awarding tenders for 3 pieces of equipment that were approved in the 2024 budget. These include a compactor, rock truck, and a roller. He explained that tenders are evaluated on price, technical competency, delivery date, and warranty. The points awarded in each category based on the submission. This helps determine the lowest cost of ownership over the useful life of the asset and may not necessarily be the lowest bid. Mr. McCray then reviewed the bid ratings for each of the pieces of equipment. All recommended bids were under what was budgeted for that purchase in the 2024 budget and represent a total net savings of $403,067.37. Director Nicklin inquired as to how points are awarded for warranty. Given the awarding of each tender ultimately came down to points awarded for warranty. Mr. McCray explained that warranties vary significantly by company, with the highest point being awarded for the best warranty and other bids receiving points depending on how it can tailor to the best warranty. There was a concern expressed by a board member as to the level of equities that the commission is invested in for our post-closure fund. Staff has reached out to the member regarding this concern. The committee was wondering if a review of the investment policy statement was in order. Staff were planning to conduct a review of our financial policies during 2024, so it would be appropriate to review this policy as well. There being no further business, the meeting was adjourned at 1:28. Motion, I move that the board receive the report of the finance committee dated March the 5th.
Seconded to you, listening.
Any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. You have 4 motions, please.
Therefore, motion 2, subject to the municipal capital borrowing board approval, tender 0124 compactor -011824 be awarded to SMS Equipment for one new 2024 Bonag BC 773RB-5 as described in the tender for $1,104,000 plus tax.
Second by,
Dale,
any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Next motion, please.
That subject to the municipal capital borrowing board approval, tender 0224 rock truck 011824 be awarded to Toronto for one new 2024 Caterpillar 730-4 as described in the tender for $614,531 plus tax.
Second by,
Marty Forsyth.
any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Your next motion, please.
Move that subject to the municipal capital borrowing board approval, tender 0324 roller 011824 be awarded to SMS Equipment for one new 2024 Bonag BW211PD-5 as described in the tender for $239,500 plus tax.
Second by,
Garrett Pleadwell.
any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Your last motion, please.
I move that the chief executive officer or chief financial officer be authorized to issue and sell to the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation a Capital Region Service Commission debenture in the principal amount of $2,273,000 on such terms and conditions as are recommended by the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation. And be it resolved that the Capital Region Service Commission agreed to issue post-dated checks payable to the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation as and when they are requested.
Second by, any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Director Corey. Regional Infrastructure Committee Director Pleadwell, please.
Thank you, Chair. We met on February 27th, 2024,
I asked at that meeting whether there's any issues with the circulated community meeting schedule, and there were no issues. So we have our schedule going forth throughout the year. The infrastructure committee also recapped the visioning session held on regional infrastructure the week previous. The visioning session was led by Jim Tech and focused on governance, maintenance, and operations, and as well as ownership of regional assets. We talked about several models and reviewed those with a good discussion being held. I thank all members present, as well as the representation of CAOs and deputy CEO of Fredericton, the CEO of Sudbury, York South, the CEO of Nashwauk Committee, as well as CRS staff and our committee members. It was a very healthy discussion at that visioning session that continued on to our regular committee meeting as well. I opened the floor to discussion at our committee meetings on topics that were left open-ended from our visioning session. There was discussion on whether a regional aquatic center will be a regional or sub-regional. There's a lot more to explore in that, and we had started to gain some consensus that the asset might be regional to a certain extent. I know that doesn't sound very committed because we still have more discussion to be had. With that being said, there must be considerations in the cost sharing formula which we explored to ensure fairness. Factors to be considered can be distance away from the asset, travel time, access to similar assets, lower tax bases, and much more. For example, the rural district is comprised of several communities, 28, I believe, or 24, that have a large range of distances from the assets and tax bases and budgets. Governance of an asset is also an extremely important factor that needs to be considered. The model currently states the cost will be shared regionally, but there will be a discount for those communities that are further than average in distance and time, with the host community picking up the difference. The current model that we're deliberating also states that there will be a discount for communities with access to similar assets. The role that municipalities and CRC play in competitive and other programming was discussed at length, as well as availability of this programming from other facilities in the region. CEO Smith noted that the positive contribution in the Regional Aquatic Center will provide to other mandated services within the CRC, such as immigration status, strategy, and efforts to in physician recruitment. The Regional Aquatic Center will benefit the region as a whole due to the facets of the center, which will include therapy, life-saving, recreational sports, swimming lessons, and much, much more for all of our populations we discussed. We asked that the staff to undertake and prepare another package set up in the way that the committee can make simple and concrete decisions in a very structured way, and that's currently underway. A report to the minister is required on or before June 30th, and the importance of a reasonable timeline in the decision-making process was discussed to meet that time frame. We adjourned the meeting at 1:15. I moved that the Capital Regional Service Commission received the report of the Regional Infrastructure Committee.
Marty Forsyth, second.
Any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor? Any? Motion carried. Thank you, Director of Legal. Annual departmental staff reports, staff report, investment policy statement, COO, Don Fitzgerald, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This report on the investment policy statement is the first of a number of reports that you'll receive over the next several months. We've become sensitive to the fact that many of our longstanding policies, both financial and governance, were approved by boards some years ago. And that there's with local government restructuring, there's many new faces, many new communities at the table. So it's appropriate that we take time to discuss those policies with you and ensure that they continue to meet the wishes of the board collectively. We have an investment policy statement that governs how we invest the funds that are set aside, the funds that are set aside for remediation of a landfill once it closes. And our current date with the 17-year extension that we received is somewhere in the 2050s. So it's a fair ways out. Um, Since the beginning of the land, we put money aside with every ton of garbage that comes across the scale to meet this need at the end of the life of the landfill. And the amount that we put aside is determined by engineering. Every 5 years, we get an engineering report on what's the expected useful life of the landfill, what the remediation cost will be, and what that works out to in present dollars. So we get an amount that we need to have at the end of that period. Early on, that money was just invested in guaranteed investment certificates, very low yield. Things were, we were at the very beginning of the life of the landfill, and it worked out pretty well. But over time, that return started to be insufficient to meet our needs when the landfill closed. And what happened is, each year, we would have a liability for post-closure and an asset for post-closure on the financial statements. And a deficit started to occur and started to grow. And so, I think 2013, we developed an investment policy statement that was somewhat more aggressive. And it allowed 20% of this fund to be invested in equities and the rest in what's called fixed income. So this would be bonds or debentures or GICs, investments that gave you a guaranteed rate of return. And that was helpful, but it didn't solve the problem. And so in 2016, this deficit was growing, and we had to look a little more carefully at what type of strategy do we need to get to where we need to go. And so we also wanted to look at what is a responsible asset allocation. So that's this percentage that you allow in cash for fixed income or equities. So we did an environmental scan, we talked to our investment advisors, and at the end of the day, staff brought to the board a recommendation that saw 75%, up to 75% of the portfolio in equities, 20% in fixed income investments, and 5% in cash. And we arrived at those numbers by looking at other public pools of money, most exclusively public pension funds. And we thought that they were a good comparison because, like our investment fund, they had a long investment horizon. They didn't need the money today. In fact, we don't need the money till the end, whereas pension funds, they need some every month to pay their pensioners. So the thought was we could even be a little more aggressive than those, but more or less we met the averages, which were the 20% and 75%. In the report, I've reproduced a table from our 2016 review that looks at the asset allocation for the Alberta plan, the Ontario Pension Board, Newfoundland, Canada, and also CPP. So that's how we got to where we are. It's worked out well for us so far. Our returns have exceeded our target. Our deficit has been eliminated. And from our perspective, from the staff perspective, we don't see any reason to dig deeper and change those allocations at this time. So that's my report, Madam Chair. Upon a motion and a seconder to receive it, I'd be happy to answer any specific questions directors might have.
Thank you. You're gonna make a motion to pass the report,
Sure, I'd like to ask a question.
but we gotta go through the round first. So you're going to
Yep.
make a motion? Thank you. Need a seconder?
Derek Pleadwell.
Any discussion? Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I was very keen to see this topic come in front of the board. I serve on both of the city's pension groups. So the last 10 years, this has been part of my reality of the government. And I appreciate that asset allocation is a important feature of, the post-closure fund. But so are the other things, like the fees paid to the financial advisors and so on and so forth, and the investment managers. And a lot of the money the city of Fredericton saves is by pure comparative analysis of what we pay in fees. And I'd like to squeeze every penny of the value out of this fund, because the liability falls on our communities otherwise. And the less we have to put in, the better. So I'm wondering, when this goes back out to the market, or what the plan is to go back out to market for the fund manager and the other professional services that align with this. Because I'm not comfortable just looking at asset allocation mixes at this high level. I know there's a lot more going on under the surface, and there's a lot more potential value to be had. And back when initial decisions were made to invest with the people that are currently investing our money, VESCOR, the provincial investment body, vehicle, or whatever, didn't exist, but they do now. They're saving the city of Fredericton a lot of money in fees compared to their competitors. Anyway, I wanted to bring that to the board's attention. And even though no action is recommended currently, I do think we should turn our minds to doing better. Thank you.
I could comment, Madam Chair. We have over a period of time also addressed the fees, and we have migrated from high fee investment vehicles, such as direct stocks, mutual funds, and we now are 100% invested in exchange traded funds, ETFs, which has the lowest fee of all the categories. I would say that the type of review that Director Erickson is talking about, we do quarterly. We bring to the Finance Committee a report based on what our performance has been for that quarter. We can discuss, we certainly add fees to the next one, and we can determine whether or not whether we will take direction from the Finance Committee at that time.
Thank you. Any
And
further,
you every quarter.
any further discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Staff report, MCDB financing, Mary Kay Langton. She's the CFO, and when she gives her short report, we'll have a motion to authorize the redemption.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as you probably know, our financing is all done through the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Board, just like all of your municipalities. So this is a two-step process when it comes to borrowing. The first is an application for borrowing, which gives us approval to purchase the equipment or undertake the project. And this motion is typically passed when our budget is passed. So for this particular borrowing, that motion was passed at December 6, 2022 meeting of the board. And that was for costs associated with the block swap of engine number 2 in our power generation facility. The project was just completed in January. So we're now able to go to the second step, which is to submit an application for financing, where we receive the debenture cash associated with the project. Total cost for the block swap came in at $756,000, which was under what we had initially anticipated. We had applied for borrowing of $1 million, so we do have some savings there. So a board motion is needed for this application for financing, which is included in my staff report. And it's important to note that this decision is when seeking approval of the budget, borrowing, or setting of fees, and requires a 2/3 majority of members present, representing a minimum of 50% of the population represented at the meeting.
No caller.
So typically, we would perform a roll call when this budget motion is made.
Can I have someone come forward to read the motion? Anybody?
Motion,
Yes, please. Okay,
I'll be here.
you can, and
Okay.
Director Plebaugh can second.
Be resolved that the chief executive officer and chief financial officer be authorized to issue and sell to the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation a Capital Region Service Commission venture principal amount of $756,000 on such terms and conditions as are recommended by the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation, and be it resolved that Capital Region Service Commission agree to issue post-dated checks payable to the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation as and when they are requested in payment of principal and interest charges on the above debentures.
And a second by,
Second, Derek Weaver.
any discussion? We'll have to go through the roll call, please.
Derek Leibach,
Aye.
Arlene Forsythe,
Yeah.
David Duplessis,
Yes.
Greg Erickson,
Yes.
Len Falconer,
yes,
Kevin Nicklin,
Yes.
Dave Morrison,
Yeah.
Richard Corey,
Yes.
Tim Fox,
Yes.
David Sweeney,
Yes.
Judy Wilson She,
Yes.
Paul Powell,
Aye.
David Hayward,
Yes.
and Joe Maury.
Yes.
The motion is passed. Thank you. Going now to a staff report, CEO verbal report, John Smith, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and through you to the members. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to provide this report. And I want to begin by thanking all of the board members and our alternates in the region for the work that you did on January 26th with Pivot Consulting. Their report to the board was and their matrix, their priorities matrix results have been provided in the package this evening. I also received the comprehensive report that was held in camera discussion at the meeting, and that will form part of my CEO quarterly reviews with the oversight committee, and then with the board in follow up on each of those committee meetings. So I just want to say thank you for all of that. It was very insightful. I don't know if I wouldn't say there was a lot of surprises, but it was nice to have some clear direction on what the board truly wanted through that. So thank you. Just wanted to give everyone a quick update. I think it's going to be a little bit redundant from what Director Fleetwell had said on the Regional Aquatic Center. We had our visioning session on February 21st, 2024. Then we followed up with a committee meeting, and now we're in the process of setting that timeline forward. As Director Fleetwell said in his report, June 30th is just around the corner. That is the time in which we must report to the minister on our findings and our abilities to determine something regional or sub-regional, and what that will look like moving forward. So we're going to have more information back to the full board soon. We'll have another committee meeting with the infrastructure committee with some dedicated, questions in terms of what that regional asset would look like. And once we do, then then we'll be carrying forward that work directors. In terms of operations, the request for services provided by the planning development, we're seen as leaders in this area as well. I talked last time about one of our meetings about your staff being called upon to present to other RSCs, to present to communities, to intervene in many of areas. I want to give a shout out to Lonnie and his team for all their dedicated hard work and professionalism. We've been asked for the services that we provide, and it's quite a telling thing that for those that we provide the planning and development services to, we do provide a lot of services compared to some other RSCs in the province. So just very thankful for that and the professionalism of the team and all the hard work that they do. GMB will have our numbers. We talked a little bit earlier about the Regional Services Support Fund. They're going to have this in April. I've informed the Chief Financial Officer of this, and this will allow us to really review our budget and start that process, and with the committee and with our board of directors, of course. So that'll be able to that is actually good news, because last time we were waiting for it for quite a little while. So it's good that they're on the ball this year and going to be out of the gate early. So. Met with Ignite and Capital Region Tourism. We've got, just so that everyone knows, they'll be presenting at the AGM this year. to the board, to the full, to our full board. We have Ignite coming in, as Director Nicklin had said in his report, they'll be coming in first, and then Frederick Capital Region Tourism to the Economic Expansion Committee to report according to our agreements with them. And it's been going well. And Ignite has some things happening as well as Capital Region Tourism sent out their news letter today. I encourage everyone to take some time to explore those newsletters. They are jam-packed with information. Whenever you see the click here links or the live links, please click on them. There's a lot of information that give you a breadth of what's happening in the community, in our region, and in your communities in particular. So we're working with them in terms of that. We'll be looking, Ignite is looking at developing, we've heard some about this, about Vision 2030. That's going to be a regional vision document for Ignite, and what they're going to be working on is how does that relay back into each and every one of the communities that they serve under the umbrella of the Capital Region Service Commission. And then how do we work with other partners, whether that be GMB partners, whether it be our municipal partners, whether it be federal partners, to develop those those broader and better investment ready portfolios for each community, and really delve a little deeper into that. So you're going to see a lot of action. You're going to see a lot of things happening. I think people are starting to see that in their communities. Certainly a lot of events that have been happening in the region as well. So for the 2030 visioning, April 11th, they're having an event, and they will be inviting all of you as the board members of the Capital Region Service Commission to go down and really at that event, it's more of an observation to see who's in there. You can go in, it'll be private sector, it'll be academia, it'll be municipal leadership, there'll be some provincial leadership there as well. So, but really what they want you to do is see what they're doing, see how this is unfolding. They're going to come back, the economists that they're working with, we're trying to schedule that individual to make a presentation to this board at the May meeting, at our May meeting. So we're working on that right now. And then what they'll do is present some of the findings, and then they'll be able to tease that a little deeper with the board members and how they will roll that out into communities. And this is something that they're trying to roll out in summer as opposed to in fall, so that we can work this into their work plan for the fall and how they serve your communities better. So a lot of good things happening. And tourism, they have their presentation of their annual report and review is going to be in April. I'll have to get you the date on that. And the Ignite annual general meeting is online on April the 24th, and more information will come out on those two events. Our annual general meeting is, of course, as Mr. Fitzgerald has said, it will be April 2nd, 2024. And we'll be having that here at the office, and we'll have a lot on that evening. So if you look at that, we've already got 3 presentations and then a healthy, robust agenda for that evening. So it's going to be a lot on, but certainly something that's very important to do in looking at our bylaws as well. As we can see, there's lots of interest in the bylaws. There's lots of interest in what we're doing. And there's lots that we can do to educate one another during that. Excuse me. The physician healthcare and recruitment teams have been meeting. We filed our report on the 100,000 that was forwarded to us through the Department of Health. We're waiting for feedback on that. We thank all of those that were involved in that under the 2 communities groups that are both really regional in nature. But I also want to say that we've been able to, we're about ready to have our 4th meeting with the heads of both organizations. And there's starting to be cooperation between the groups and starting to build those synergies. So it's a positive step forward in terms of working together and how we're going to do that. Some of the things that were undertaken, of course, were physician recruitment and retention events in the last year. The group, that's, led primarily or considered, to be the Fredericton group, I'll say, has developed promotional videos, in the region with, leadership, other physicians and those who have decided to settle in the region. And the Oromocto group did, short, clips. They're working on short clips that will target, students in medical school. So it's targeted to the audience. And, so some real good cooperation happening there. We're starting to get good communication. Our next meeting is a little later this month, I believe it's 25th of March. And we're also have invited the New Brunswick Medical Society, some of their leadership to sit in on that meeting with the heads of both organizations. So we've been very fortunate on that. I sent a letter to initiate the transfer of the anticipated 50,000 for 2024. And we're waiting on direction from the department at that time. They actually reached out today and told me that they would have something in very short order to us to tell us what that funding would look like and what what our shared goals and aspirations are. Last year, I gotta be honest, they left it pretty wide open and vague, so the groups could do a lot with that funding. And I think they developed I think they've done a lot of very good and positive work in the region. Don't know if after all of that, I'll leave it at that. I could go on for another half hour and 35 minutes,
No,
as you all know.
I
But I do sit next to the chair and she does have a gavel, so, through you, Madam Chair, if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them, and if not, that's my report for this evening.
Any questions? I would just like to relay a comment from a resident, and it's over staff member Lonnie. They are very, very impressed with the service they're getting from you, professionalism that you're showing, and the response time. And I think you know who. But very, very impressed with the service they're receiving, and I think that's very important. I pass that comment on. Okay, no further questions? Okay, I need a motion to go into closed session. So move second by. Okay, we're gonna go into closed section, so could you, we have to shut the door there, please? And staff will be staying for this.
Yeah, probably wouldn't be bad. Yeah. That's pretty beefy. Did you guys lift it out yourself? I'm sure you can. Yeah.
Where are we going here?
Yeah, we just set it right here.
All my space.
Sorry there, guys. We're gonna crowd just here a little, It's much lighter than it looks.
Nothing to that 50%.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, before we start, I have to ask, Director Faulkner and Director Foss, you two are alone?
Yep.
Nobody else is- Okay, thank you.